You're walking to your car after a late dinner when you hear shouting behind you and realize someone is following you. Or you're at home when you smell smoke and the fire alarm starts blaring. Or you're in a building when you hear what might be gunshots and everyone starts moving toward the exits. These are the moments when you need to move fast and get to safety. But most people have never really thought through what actually happens when you need to run from danger. Today, I'm going to share with you the tactical knowledge that prepared people use to escape dangerous situations safely and efficiently. Whether you're a seasoned adult with decades of life experience, someone dealing with mobility challenges, or just anyone who wants to think 3 steps ahead when it comes to personal safety. If you want to become the kind of person who stays calm and makes smart decisions when everyone else is panicking, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell, because we're diving deep into escape tactics and crisis management techniques that turn you into a prepared, logical operator in emergency situations. I've spent years studying emergency response and crisis management, and I've collected these strategies from security professionals, first responders, and folks who've survived real emergencies, including people who've had to adapt their escape plans based on age, injuries, or physical limitations. And what I'm about to share with you could literally save your life by making you the most prepared person in any crisis. Let's start by talking about the different types of situations where you might need to run or escape quickly, because each one really requires different tactics and preparation strategies. Personal threats, like someone following you or trying to approach you aggressively, require immediate distance creation. And the key thing most people get wrong is they try to be polite or give the benefit of the doubt when their gut is telling them something is wrong. But smart people trust their instincts and create distance first, then figure out if they were being overly cautious later. When you're dealing with a personal threat, your primary goal is to get to a safe location with other people around, and this means knowing where the nearest businesses, police stations, or fire departments are from any location you frequent. Because, honestly, criminals almost always avoid places with witnesses and security cameras. Environmental emergencies like fires, gas leaks, or severe weather require a completely different approach, because you're not just getting away from one threat, you're moving toward a specific type of safety. The mistake most people make is not having multiple escape routes planned from the places where they spend the most time. For building emergencies, whether it's fire, structural damage, or an active threat situation, the most important thing to understand is that elevators become death traps in almost every emergency scenario, so you need to know where every stairwell is in buildings you frequent. You need to know this before you need it, because panic makes people forget basic information. And mass casualty events or situations where large groups of people are trying to escape at the same time create their own unique dangers, because crowds can crush you. People make poor decisions when they're scared. And the obvious exits are usually the most dangerous because everyone goes there first. Your physical ability to escape danger depends a lot more on smart preparation and tactics than it does on being young or perfectly fit. And this is something that people with experience and wisdom actually have an advantage with, because they think ahead instead of just reacting. Cardiovascular fitness for escape situations isn't about being able to run a marathon. It's about being able to move quickly for short distances without getting so winded that you can't think clearly. And even if you have mobility limitations, there are ways to improve your escape capabilities through smart planning and preparation. The most practical fitness preparation you can do is stair climbing, because in most emergency situations you're going to need to use stairs instead of elevators. If you practice going up and down stairs regularly, even just a few flights, you'll be way ahead of most people when it really matters. For people with mobility aids like canes, walkers, or wheelchairs, escape planning becomes even more critical, because you need to know which routes are actually accessible and which emergency equipment is available in the places you go regularly. You should never be embarrassed to ask building managers about their emergency procedures for people with disabilities. Breathing control is something anyone can practice that makes a huge difference in emergency situations. Because when you're scared or moving fast, most people start breathing in a way that makes them panic more. But if you practice slow, controlled breathing during normal times, you can use it to stay calm and think clearly when things go bad. And footwear choices matter way more than most people realize, because you can't escape effectively if you're wearing shoes that make you trip, slip, or slow you down. Smart people always consider their footwear choices based on where they're going and what they might need to do to get out quickly. The best escape is the one you never have to make because you saw trouble coming and avoided it completely. This is where experience and wisdom give you a huge advantage over younger folks who might be overconfident or distracted. Because situational awareness isn't about being paranoid, it's about developing the habit of noticing your environment and trusting your instincts when something feels off. This becomes automatic with practice, but it starts with making conscious decisions to pay attention to what's happening around you. When you enter any building or space, the first thing you should do is locate at least 2 exits. If you're someone who might need extra time to escape due to mobility issues, you should also note where emergency equipment like AEDs or fire extinguishers are located, because you might need to help yourself or others. Baseline behavior recognition is something security professionals use that anyone can learn, where you notice what normal looks like in a particular environment, and then you watch for things that don't fit the pattern, like someone wearing heavy clothing on a hot day, someone loitering without an obvious purpose, or someone who keeps looking around nervously. Pre-incident indicators are the warning signs that something bad might be about to happen, and these can include things like unusual smells like gas or smoke, strange sounds like breaking glass or shouting, visual cues like people running or gathering in groups, or just that feeling in your gut that something isn't right. And, technology can be a huge help with situational awareness if you use it smartly, because emergency alert apps, local scanner apps, and even social media can give you early warning about dangerous situations in your area. But you have to balance staying informed with not becoming overwhelmed by information. Every place you spend significant time should have an escape plan. And this isn't just for your home. It includes your workplace, places you shop regularly, restaurants you frequent, and anywhere else you might find yourself when an emergency happens. And, home escape planning goes way beyond just having smoke detectors and a fire extinguisher, although those are important too, because you need to know how to get out of your house from every room. You need to have a meeting place where family members will gather, and you need to have important documents and supplies ready to grab quickly. For folks with mobility challenges, home escape planning might include having a rope ladder for second-floor windows, keeping mobility aids in multiple locations so you're never trapped without them, or having a communication plan with neighbors who can assist you if needed. And, workplace escape planning means knowing all the stairwells, understanding your company's emergency procedures, knowing where the emergency supplies are kept, and having personal items ready to grab quickly. But it also means thinking about transportation, because if there's a widespread emergency, normal transportation might not be available. Vehicle escape planning is something most people never consider, but your car can be both a tool for escape and a trap depending on the situation. So you should know multiple routes to get home from anywhere you drive regularly, keep emergency supplies in your car, and understand when staying in your vehicle is safer than getting out. And public transportation escape planning requires understanding that buses, trains, and subways can become death traps in certain emergencies. So you should always know how to walk home from anywhere public transportation might take you. And you should carry cash, because electronic payment systems often fail during emergencies. Communication during an emergency escape situation can mean the difference between people knowing you're safe and rescue teams wasting time looking for you in the wrong places. So having a solid communication plan is just as important as knowing how to get out. Your emergency contact list should include local contacts who can physically come help you, out-of-state contacts who can coordinate information if local phone systems are overloaded, and specific numbers for emergency services, including poison control and your local emergency management office. Group communication during escape situations requires a plan that everyone understands ahead of time, because in the chaos of an emergency, people forget phone numbers, make poor decisions about where to go, and waste precious time trying to coordinate with others. And if you have family members with special needs, including elderly relatives, children, or people with disabilities, your communication plan needs to account for the fact that they might not be able to communicate their location or status during an emergency, so you need predetermined protocols for checking on them. Technology can help with emergency communication, but it can also fail when you need it most. So your plan should include non-technological backup methods, like predetermined meeting places, written instructions left in known locations, and signals that family members understand. Social media can be incredibly useful during widespread emergencies because it often works when phone systems are overloaded. and emergency services increasingly monitor social media for information about people who need help. But you should also understand that posting your location in real time can create security risks in certain situations. One of the most dangerous aspects of emergency escape situations is what happens when large numbers of people all try to escape at the same time. Because crowds can literally crush you to death even when there's no immediate threat to the building or area. And crowd psychology during emergencies is predictable because people tend to follow others even when it's not logical. They often try to exit the same way they entered even if other exits are closer. And they make decisions based on emotion rather than logic, which creates opportunities for smart people who understand these patterns. If you find yourself in a crowd that's trying to escape, the safest position is usually near a wall rather than in the middle of the crowd, because this gives you something to brace against and prevents you from being pushed from all sides. And if the crowd falls or gets compressed, you're less likely to be trampled. Moving with a crowd requires specific techniques where you keep your arms up in front of your chest to create breathing space. Move diagonally across the flow of the crowd rather than directly against it if you need to go a different direction. And if you fall, curl into a ball and try to get back up immediately, because staying down in a moving crowd is often fatal. Alternative exit strategies become critical when the obvious exits are blocked by crowds or debris. And this means knowing about emergency exits, service corridors, loading docks, or even breaking windows if necessary. Because thinking creatively about escape routes can save your life when conventional routes are compromised. Helping others during crowd emergencies requires judgment about when you can actually help, versus when trying to help will just create more victims. Because while it's natural to want to help people who've fallen or are struggling, you have to evaluate whether you have the physical capability to help without becoming trapped yourself. Environmental factors can turn a simple escape into a life-threatening challenge. And being prepared for these obstacles means thinking through scenarios and having backup plans for when your primary escape route doesn't work. Because weather conditions affect escape in ways most people don't consider, where ice makes stairs and walkways deadly. Heavy rain reduces visibility and makes surfaces slippery. Snow can block exits or make vehicles unusable. And extreme heat or cold can incapacitate people who aren't prepared for extended exposure. Smoke is one of the most dangerous environmental obstacles because it kills more people in fires than the actual flames do. And the key things to understand are that smoke rises, so you should stay low to the ground. That smoke can be poisonous even in small amounts. And that you can't hold your breath long enough to get through heavy smoke without proper equipment. While darkness or reduced visibility creates massive challenges for escape because people move slower, make navigation errors, and injure themselves on obstacles they can't see. Which is why every prepared person carries a small flashlight and knows how to navigate familiar areas by feel and memory. Debris and structural damage can block your planned escape routes, so you need to think about alternative paths that might include breaking through walls, climbing over obstacles, or squeezing through small spaces. And if you have mobility limitations, you need to be especially creative about alternative routes. And water hazards during floods or water main breaks can make escape routes impassable or dangerous. And the key things to know are that moving water is incredibly powerful, that electrical hazards exist around any flooding, and that even shallow water can knock you down if it's moving fast enough. Successfully escaping from danger is just the first step, because what you do immediately after escaping can determine whether you stay safe or put yourself back in danger. And this is where having a plan becomes just as important as the escape itself. Because immediate safety assessment means making sure you're actually safe, and not just temporarily out of immediate danger, since sometimes the first place you escape to isn't actually secure, and you need to keep moving until you reach a location where you can defend yourself or where help is available. Accounting for family members and group members becomes critical after any escape, because emergency responders need to know who might still be missing, and family members need to know that you're safe so they don't put themselves in danger trying to find you. And medical assessment after an escape is important, even if you don't think you're injured, because adrenaline can mask injuries, smoke inhalation can cause delayed symptoms, and stress can trigger medical conditions like heart problems or asthma attacks. Law enforcement and emergency responder communication requires giving clear, factual information about what you experienced, who might still be in danger, and what the current situation is, because the information you provide might save other people's lives. and documentation of what happened might be important for insurance claims, legal proceedings, or helping other people prepare for similar situations. So if you're able to do so safely, taking photos, writing down what happened, and preserving any evidence can be valuable later. Age-related escape challenges require honest assessment of your current capabilities and smart planning to work around limitations, because being older doesn't mean you can't escape effectively. It just means you need to be more strategic about your approach and medication. Dependent individuals need escape plans that account for the fact that you might not have access to your medications for extended periods during or after an emergency, so you should keep emergency supplies of critical medications in multiple locations and understand what happens if you miss doses. Mobility aid users need escape plans that account for the fact that elevators might not be available, that your mobility aid might be damaged or left behind, and that standard escape routes might not be accessible. So alternative routes and backup equipment become even more critical and sensory. Impairment considerations include having tactile or visual backup systems for people who are deaf or hard of hearing audio, or tactile systems for people who are blind or visually impaired, and communication methods that don't rely on verbal instructions for people with speech difficulties. Caregiver responsibilities during escape situations require planning for how to help others escape, while also ensuring your own safety, because you can't help anyone if you become a victim yourself. And this might mean making difficult decisions about when to leave someone behind to get help, and pet and service animal considerations need to be part of your escape planning, because these animals are family members, and in the case of service animals, they're medical equipment that you depend on, so you need carriers, leashes, and identification for animals, plus knowledge of pet-friendly shelters in your area. The difference between surviving a dangerous situation and becoming a victim often comes down to tactical thinking, smart preparation, and the wisdom to plan ahead instead of hoping nothing bad ever happens. And these techniques I've shared with you represent years of research into what actually works when people need to escape from real dangers. Because what makes a truly prepared person isn't youth or perfect physical fitness. It's the mindset of someone who thinks like a responsible tactical operator, where you assess risks before they become emergencies. You prepare for contingencies, you know your limitations and plan around them, and you always have a backup plan, because that's what smart people do when they take responsibility for their own safety. Whether you're dealing with mobility challenges, managing health conditions, caring for family members with special needs, or just recognizing that you need to be smarter rather than faster, these preparation strategies become even more important, because you understand that prevention and planning beat trying to react your way out of trouble every single time. So start incorporating some of these preparation techniques into your routine right away by identifying and practicing escape routes from places you frequent, establishing communication plans with family members, building emergency supply kits for your home and vehicle, and beginning to think tactically about personal safety, because the most dangerous person is the one who thinks nothing will ever go wrong. Remember that every security professional and emergency responder has stories about people who survived dangerous situations, not because they were the strongest or fastest, but because they were the most prepared and thought clearly under pressure, which is something any of us can achieve, regardless of age or physical ability. So if this video helped you think about emergency preparedness in a new way, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with other people who might benefit from these strategies. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because I've got a lot more tactical preparedness content coming that will help you become a smarter, safer, and more prepared person who thinks 3 steps ahead. And what's your best example of preparation or situational awareness that helped you avoid or escape from a dangerous situation? Because I love hearing about real experiences where smart planning and tactical thinking made the difference. And your story might help another person who finds themselves in a similar situation someday.